everybody, it's Mrs. Clemens once again, and it is Psychology Flipped. As always, remember, keep calm, study psychology. Well, gosh, guys, we won't have that much more time to study psychology. We are ready for our final exam, and I hope you guys had a super fun semester, because I did. All right, let's get ready for this test. So, introductory kinds of things. What is psychology? It's the study of behavior and mental processes. So, no, it is not telepathy. No, it is not, trying to necessarily change behavior. It's trying to figure out why we do the things that we do. All right, so you do need to know that there are different types of psychology and different specialties. So we've got clinical psychology. That's the folks that are going to do therapy. Experimental, they're the ones that are going to find out new things. So like when we watched the video on the brain where the people were in the tube and they were having a very good time, that might be an example of that. Behavioral, talking about why we specifically act the way we do, maybe trying to manage behavior. And educational psychologists, they're going to help teachers to be better teachers. Difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. This is really important. So a psychologist, they have a PhD. That's where you're going to go for therapy. Their big thing is relationships. So how's your relationship with your parents, your siblings, your significant other? And when they look at what causes certain things, certain disorders, they're going to look at nurture. They're going to look at your childhood and your experiences. Whereas a psychiatrist, they're a medical doctor. They're the ones that are going to prescribe medication. They have a much more biological outlook, and they're going to look at both nature as an issue that might cause a problem. So like having a chemical imbalance or genetics, and they're going to be the ones that are going to also use a biological approach to help your issue. So they're going to prescribe meds. All right, next, the brain. What is the nervous system? It's our system that transmits messages throughout the body, and we use our nerves for that. Then we have different functions of our nervous system. So the somatic is our voluntary action. So if you're writing this down, that's somatic. That's your voluntary actions. Autonomic is involuntary. So if you get the hiccups, or most of the time when you're breathing or blinking. Central nervous system is our brain and our spinal cord. So those are the two, when we're talking about central and peripheral, these are the parts, the physical parts of the nervous system. So central is brain and spinal cord, peripheral, everywhere else. So if you stub your toe, you're affecting your peripheral nervous system. Heredity and twin studies. So remember, we were just talking about with the psychologist and the psychiatrist when they're talking about treatment, well, they need to talk about, is it nature, genetics that causes something, or is it nurture, how you were raised? And so if you have twins that are separated at birth, that's a really great way to find out, well, what caused that behavior. And then don't forget about the forebrain. That's the thing that separates us from other animals, and that's our thinking and emotions. And it's really important that you remember Phineas Gage. He's the guy that worked on the railroad, and he got the spike through his frontal lobe. He was able to live after that, but he was definitely different. He was a lot more irritable, and that was because, of the part of the brain that it hit. All right, stress. How can it affect our health? Definitely, it can impact us mentally, physically, and behaviorally. So mentally, it can cause anxiety disorders. It can even cause, when we're talking about schizophrenia or dissociative identity, where you're experiencing horrible things, it can certainly impact that. Physically, it can make you sick. It could cause aches and pains. And then behaviorally, you might start an addiction, or you might change your behavior in that, you're not hanging out with your friends as much, or, you're not doing your homework. How do we cope with stress? It's really important to have people that support you, that care about you, and that you could talk to, and just our overall ability how much we feel like we can control the things that stress us out. All right. So this is these defense mechanisms, we're talking about them here under stress. We're going to talk about them again under personality. So the ways that we cope with stress, one way is that we repress, we forget. It's still there, but we don't consciously know about a traumatic memory. Projection, I'm mad at my second period class, but I yell at my third period class. Denial, everything's fine. I haven't done any of my homework and I failed all my tests, but I'm still going to pass. Rationalization, basically just kind of coming up with reasons why you're correct to justify your behavior. All right, personality. What is a personality trait? It's a descriptor, so it could be outgoing, it could be introverted, it could be adaptable, like you're able to cope with change, it could be adventurous. All right, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need to know from least complex to most complex. So on the bottom of that pyramid that we had before, physiological, your physical needs. So you need to, have food and shelter. Next is safety. You need to feel like no one's going to attack you. Love and belongingness is next, that someone cares. Self-esteem, that you feel good about yourself. And then self-actualization, that you have reached your goals. All right, what are Freud's theories on personality? So, again, really make sure you study those defense mechanisms because they're going to turn up a bunch on the final. But he believes in the id, ego, and superego. Id is your primal. Ego is your, all right, how am I going to get those primal needs? And superego is your conscience. And so which one is part of our conscious self, not our conscious self? And according to Freud, it's our ego. Some of our super ego is above that line in the iceberg, but for the most part, the one that's the most is our ego. All right, altered states of consciousness. What is consciousness? Our state of awareness. So sometimes we're very aware, like when we're awake. Sometimes when we're asleep, we're not quite as aware. What happens during the REM stage of sleep? You have rapid eye movement. We dream. We have increased brain activity. Which stage of sleep is the deepest stage? Stage 4. So we have different ideas about the meanings and purpose of dreams. Freud, he thinks that it reveals our unconscious, so those id kind of things. Carl Jung believes that dreams are beneficial to help us for therapy, and other people think that they help us to organize our thoughts. Some of the following sleep disorders and their characteristics. Sleep terrors, it's not a nightmare. It happens during our deep stage of sleep. You just feel terror. You're not actually having like a plot or whatever like you do in a dream. Insomnia, you're not able to fall asleep or stay asleep. It's associated with stress. Sleep apnea, that's where you snore when you're sleeping and you actually stop breathing. It's a little scary. And some of the impacts is that you're really tired during the day. And then narcolepsy is sleep attacks, where you could just be kind of doing anything and you fall asleep. Oh, and part of the thing with narcolepsy, you can have cataplexy with that, where you fall over. What is hypnosis and why is it controversial? Well, it doesn't work the same for everyone. You have to be very suggestible. And yeah, there are ways that you can be manipulated. All right, folks, so that's the end of the first part of our review. Stay tuned for our second part.